Okay, let's try a little experiment.
I like experiments.
I want you to close your eyes. Picture a rock star. Not a specific person, just the concept of a rock star.
Okay, got it.
Now, strip away the face, strip away the name, just look at the outline, the silhouette. What do you see?
Okay, well, if you're doing this right, you're probably seeing a mass of unruly, gravity-defying black curls.
Uh-huh.
You're seeing a top hat, which is, I mean, let's be honest, a ridiculous accessory for the 20th century, perched precariously on that hair.
Right.
Maybe some aviator sunglasses,
Yeah.
and almost certainly a low-slung Les Paul guitar hanging somewhere, around the knees.
Exactly. You see that silhouette, and you don't need a label, you don't need a caption. You know immediately that it's Slash.
Instantly.
But here's my problem with that image, and it's really the reason I wanted to do this deep dive today.
Okay.
We treat that silhouette like a mascot.
A mascot. In what sense?
In the sense that he feels like a cartoon character. Like he just manifested out of thin air on the Sunset Strip in 1985, drank a gallon of Jack Daniels, played some cool riffs, and passed out.
Caricature.
He's the party animal caricature. But when I was going through the stack of research you sent over, the biography excerpts, the technical breakdowns of his gear, the touring schedules, that caricature just completely falls apart for me.
Oh, it's not just wrong.
Yeah.
I would argue it's the exact opposite of the truth.
How so?
If you actually look at the data, and we have a lot of it, the party animal narrative is the cover story. The real story is about obsessive, almost maniacal discipline.
That is the aha moment I want to chase today. Because we're talking about a guy who Time Magazine ranked as the runner-up to Jimi Hendrix for Best Electric Guitar Player.
Which is just, that's rarefied air.
We're talking about a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. And as we sit here in February 2026, we are talking about a guy who is currently in the middle of a massive renaissance.
It is a renaissance, absolutely. But to understand why he is still relevant in 2026, you have to understand that he isn't just an American rock star.
Right.
In fact, he isn't really an American rock star at all. He's a mixed-race kid from the English Midlands who was dropped into Hollywood royalty.
And that distinction, that specific weird origin story, seems to change everything about how we should hear his music.
It really does.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to dismantle the cartoon. We're going to find Saul Hudson, the man under the hat.
Let's do it.
I'm ready. I want to start with the geography because this was the first thing that really threw me.
Yeah.
I think most people, myself included, associate Slash entirely with Los Angeles. The whiskey a-go-go, the troubadour, the grime and hairspray of the 1980s strip.
For sure, that's the brand.
But his story starts 5,000 miles away.
It does. It starts in Hampstead, London in 1965. But he didn't just spend a few months there. He was raised in Stoke-on-Trent until he was 6 years old.
Stoke-on-Trent. Now, for our listeners who aren't familiar with English geography, paint that picture. We are not talking about swinging London here.
No, we are not. Not even close. Stoke-on-Trent is known as the Potteries.
Okay.
It's the industrial heart of England. In the late 60s and early 70s, this was a place of brick kilns, smoke, gray skies, and hard blue-collar work.
So gritty.
Very gritty. It's about as far removed from the neon glam of Hollywood as you can possibly get.
It sounds bleak, honestly.
It was grounded. And I think that duality is crucial. His father, Anthony Hudson, was a white English artist who designed album covers.
Right.
His mother, Ola Hudson, was an African-American costume designer. So right from the jump, Slash, or Saul at this point, is navigating two completely different worlds. He's navigating the racial divide of the late 60s. He's navigating the cultural divide between industrial England and, well, America.
He actually has a great quote about this in the biography notes. He said, "I've always been amused that I'm both British and black."
And that's a fascinating perspective, especially when you look at the history of rock music.
How do you know?
Think about the 1960s and 70s. You had white American musicians trying desperately to be part of the British invasion, mimicking the Beatles or the Kinks.
Right, trying to sound British.
And simultaneously, you had British musicians, Clapton, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, trying to emulate black American blues players.
Everybody was trying to be what they weren't.
Exactly. But Slash, he didn't have to pose. He literally had the DNA of both worlds. He was the British influence and the American blues heritage wrapped up in one person. He didn't have to try to be authentic. He just was.
So you have this kid living in Stoke, and then around age 6, everything changes.
Big change.
He moves to Los Angeles with his dad to join his mom. And this is where the story gets cinematic. Because his parents weren't just regular people working 9 to 5s.
Far from it. His mother, Ola, was a powerhouse. She was designing costumes for some of the biggest names in the world.
Like who?
Ringo Starr, John Lennon. And most famously, she dated David Bowie for a while.
Okay, stop. We need to process that.
Right.
Imagine being a 7-year-old kid, you're playing with your toy trucks or whatever, and you walk into the living room, and Ziggy Stardust is sitting on your couch trying on pants.
It sounds like fiction,
Yeah.
but that was his reality.
That's insane.
Slash has talked about this. He said he would just be hanging out, and these titans of industry were everywhere.
Yeah.
But here's the key psychological insight.
Okay.
Because he saw them in his living room, in their underwear, or, eating breakfast.
Yeah.
He never idolized them.
He saw the human side before he saw the rock god side?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Most kids who start bands are chasing the fantasy. They want to get to the party.
Right.
Slash was born at the party.
Yeah.
He didn't view rock stars as deities. He viewed them as the people who drank his dad's beer.
And that kind of inoculated him against being starstruck later on.
Totally. When Guns N' Roses blew up, he didn't freak out because fame was just normal to him. It was the family business, in a way.
Oh. That explains so much about his demeanor. He always seems so unbothered.
He's seen it all before.
Now, before we get into the music, we have to address the name. Slash.
Yes.
It sounds aggressive. It sounds like a name you choose because you want to sound like a villain in a horror movie.
Or a wrestling heel. But, again, this goes back to debunking the myth.
It wasn't a branding choice.
Not at all. He didn't sit down with a marketing team and say, what sounds dangerous? The name was given to him by the actor Seymour Cassel.
The guy from the John Cassavetes movies.
The very same. Slash was friends with Cassel's son.
Okay.
And Seymour watched this kid running around the house, never stopping, always moving from one room to another, totally hyperactive.
Right.
And he started calling him Slash. Not because he was violent, but because he was a slash of motion. He was always in a hurry, zipping around.
I love that. It's basically a description of ADHD, not a threat of violence.
It really is. It was a descriptor of his energy, not his temper. And that energy is what he eventually channeled into the guitar.
So let's talk about that moment, the awakening. Because usually when you hear about virtuosos, they start playing violin at age 3.
Not him.
Slash didn't pick up a guitar until he was, what, 14?
14, which is actually quite late for someone who reaches his level. And the catalyst wasn't a desire to be an artist.
Oh, no.
It was the quintessential teenage boy motivation.
Let me guess. A girl.
A girl, of course. It's roughly 1979. He has a crush on an older girl, a tale as old as time. He finally manages to get invited over to her house. He has a plan. He's going to make his move. To set the mood, she puts on a record.
And the record is?
Aerosmith. The album is Rocks.
Oh, no. I see where this is going. The romance is doomed.
Completely doomed. The moment that music started, specifically the grit and the groove of Joe Perry and Brad Whitford, the girl ceased to exist for him.
Wow.
He said it hit him like a ton of bricks. He ignored her. He sat there listening to the album over and over, analyzing what he was hearing, and then he just rode his bike home.
He ghosted her while he was still in the room.
He did. He said, I identified with something. It was the sound of his own internal monologue.
So that was it.
That was it. The romance was dead, but the guitarist was born.
But even then, he didn't go straight to the 6th string, right? There is this hilarious mix-up with Steven Adler, who would later be the drummer for Guns N' Roses.
This is one of those sliding doors moment in history.
Yeah.
If this conversation had gone differently, rock history would be unrecognizable.
No kidding.
Slash and Steven Adler were childhood friends. They decided, hey, let's start a band. Adler, who at this point didn't play an instrument either, immediately declared, I'm the lead guitarist.
Called it first, like calling shotgun.
Exactly. He called shotgun on the guitar. So Slash, being the agreeable friend, and he is generally a very chill guy, said, okay, well, I guess I'll play bass.
So we almost had Slash the bass player. That's a wild thought.
We were very close.
Yeah.
He goes to a local music school, the Fairfax Music School, to take a bass lesson. But the teacher, a guy named Robert Woolen, starts playing guitar to demonstrate something. He plays Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones and some Cream riffs.
And Slash is watching this probably thinking, wait, the bass doesn't do that.
He's thinking, that is the voice I hear in my head.
Uh-huh.
He realized immediately that the lead guitar was what he wanted.
Uh-huh.
He quit bass lessons before he even really started, switched to guitar, and that was the end of his social life.
And this brings us back to that workaholic theme we touched on earlier.
It does.
Because the image is that he just partied. But you don't get that good by partying.
No, you get that goodbye obsession. We're talking about 12 hours a day.
12 hours.
Every day. He dropped out of the social scene. He stopped racing BMX bikes, which he was actually a champion at.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He would sit in his room, play until his fingers bled, tape them up, and play more. He was trying to figure out Jeff Beck's solos note for note. He treated practice like a full-time job before he ever made a dime.
It's the 10,000 hours rule, crammed into about 3 years.
Pretty much.
And that work ethic is what he brought to the table when Guns N' Roses finally formed in 1985. This is mythological territory now, the most dangerous band in the world.
They earned that title. And the chemistry was instant. You had the merging of LA Guns and Hollywood Rose.
Right.
In May 1985, the classic lineup solidified. Axl Rose, Slash, Duff McKagan, Izzy Stradlin, and Steven Adler.
Now, we have to talk about the look, because this is where the silhouette comes from, the top hat. I assumed for years that this was a stylist's decision. Or maybe he saw it in a movie?
It was pure accident and a crime.
A crime.
It was 1985. They were playing the Whiskey A Go-Go or one of those clubs, and Slash didn't feel like he had a look. He was just a guy in jeans. He walked into a store called Retail Slut on Melrose Avenue.
Retail Slut, very 80s.
Very 80s. He saw a top hat in the window. He liked it, but he was broke, so he just took it.
He shoplifted the most famous hat in history.
He put it on his head and walked out. Then he went to the store next door, a place called Leathers and Treasures, and shoplifted a Native American-style concho belt.
Doubling down.
He got back to the apartment, realized the hat was a little plain, cut the belt up, wrapped it around the hat, and boom, the icon was born.
That sums up the band perfectly, doesn't it? Spontaneous, illegal, but undeniably stylish.
It was cobbling together brilliance from whatever was lying around. And that is exactly what they did with Appetite for Destruction in 1987.
Let's talk about that album, because the stats are staggering. 18 million copies in the U.S. alone, best-selling debut of all time.
It's insane.
But I want to know why. Why did that album hit so hard in 1987?
Context is everything. In 1987, turn on the radio, what do you hear? You hear Poison, you hear Motley Crue, you hear what we call hair metal.
Spandex, Aquanet, songs about partying.
And sonically, it was very processed. The guitars were thin and buzzy. The drums were gated reverb. It was cop music disguised as metal.
Right.
Then Appetite drops, and it sounds dirty.
It sounds dangerous.
It sounds like a street fight. Slash's guitar playing wasn't trying to be Eddie Van Halen. He wasn't tapping. He wasn't using a whammy bar. He was playing blues licks, but playing them with this ferocious aggression. He was channeling Joe Perry and Jimmy Page.
There is a raw quality to it, and I saw that Total Guitar ranked the Sweet Child of Mine riff as the #1 greatest riff of all time.
Which is hilarious because Slash hated that song.
Really? Why?
He despised it. He was sitting in a jam session just goofing around. He started playing that circus melody doodly-doo as a string skipping exercise.
Still just warming up.
He was basically practicing scales. He thought it was a joke. Axl heard it from the other room and said, "That's it. That's the song."
Wow.
Slash tried to sabotage it by putting that heavy, slow breakdown in the middle, but it just made the song better.
It's always the stuff you throw away that ends up being the gold.
Always.
But okay, Appetite is huge. They are the biggest band on earth. Use Your Illusion comes out in 1991, 2 albums, debuting at #1 and 2. But the wheels are coming off.
The wheels were barely attached to begin with. It was the classic, too much too soon. And we have to be honest about the substance abuse. It was rampant. You have the song Mr. Brownstone, which is literally an ode to heroin addiction.
Right.
In 1989, opening for the Rolling Stones, Axl famously threatened to quit on stage if certain members didn't stop dancing with Mr. Brownstone.
Calling out your own bandmates in front of 80,000 people, that is a hostile work environment.
It was toxic. Steven Adler was fired in 1990 because he physically couldn't play anymore due to addiction.
Wow.
Izzy Stradlin, who was really the calm center of the band, left because he got sober and couldn't be around the chaos. Slash hung on until 1996.
Why did he finally leave? I feel like the standard PR answer is always creative differences, but digging into the biography, it seemed much more personal.
Oh, it was. It was about respect and control.
Yeah.
In his autobiography, Slash paints a picture of Axl Rose trying to turn the band into a dictatorship.
How so?
Axl wanted ownership of the name. He wanted to downgrade Slash and Duff to hired hands.
The employee status.
Exactly. And on top of that, Axl was notoriously late. We're not talking 10 minutes. We're talking going on stage 2-3 hours late.
That's unprofessional.
Riots were breaking out. Slash is a professional. Remember the discipline. He wanted to play. Sitting backstage for 3 hours wondering if the singer is going to show up. It broke him. He essentially said, I'm done.
That opens up the wilderness years. Although calling it a wilderness is misleading because he never stopped working.
He is constitutionally incapable of stopping.
Right.
He formed Slash's Snakepit immediately. Actually, Snakepit started before he left GN'R.
Really?
He had written a bunch of riffs for the next Guns album. Axl rejected them, so Slash said, fine, I'll record them myself.
That became It's 5 o'clock somewhere?
Which is a solid rock record. It defied the grunge trends of the mid-90s.
It did. It's very bluesy.
But the real second act came with Velvet Revolver.
This was the supergroup concept. You take the core of GN'R/Duff, Matt Sorum, and you add a new singer. But supergroups usually fail. They're usually ego fests that implode after one album.
And this one almost didn't happen. The search for a singer was excruciating. They documented it on VH1. They listened to hundreds of tapes. It was monotonous.
I can imagine.
But they needed someone who had the charisma to stand next to Slash.
Which is a tall order.
It is. Eventually, they landed on Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots.
Talk about doubling down on chaos. You take the guys from the most dangerous band in the world and add the singer from one of the most troubled bands in grunge.
It was a powder keg.
Yeah.
But the explosion was beautiful.
Yeah.
Their debut album, Contraband, went straight to #1 in 2004. They won a Grammy for Slither.
I want to pause on Slither for a second.
Yeah.
Because that riff, it doesn't sound like Guns N' Roses. It sounds darker.
It's tuned down to drop D. It's sludgy. It showed that Slash wasn't just a nostalgia act.
Right.
He wasn't just rewriting Welcome to the Jungle. He could write modern, heavy, alternative rock. It proved his relevance to a whole new generation.
But as with all things involving volatile personalities, it didn't last.
No. Weiland had his own demons. By 2008, after some very awkward onstage meltdowns where Weiland would announce the tour was over to the crowd while the band was still playing, they split.
Oof.
Slash cited chemical issues.
So he's bandless again. And this leads to what I think is the most interesting phase of his career, the solo renaissance.
I agree.
Because around 2010, he seems to change his strategy entirely.
He stopped trying to replace Axl or Scott. He stopped looking for a front man to fight with. He released his self-titled solo album in 2010, and it was billed as Slash and Friends.
That album is a who's who. You have Ozzy Osbourne, Fergie, Adam Levine, Lemmy, Dave Grohl.
It was cathartic. He just called up everyone he respected and said, let's make a song. But the most important phone call was to a guy named Miles Kennedy.
From the band Alter Bridge?
Right. Miles sang 2 tracks on that record.
Yeah.
And something clicked. Miles Kennedy is... how do I put this? He is the anti-Axl.
In what way?
He is a choir boy in a rock star's body. He has a 4-octave range. He can sing anything, but he is humble, he is professional, and he is sober.
So no drama.
No drama.
Yeah.
No arrests. Just incredible execution.
And that evolved into Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, or SMKC.
Terrible acronym,
Yeah.
Great band. And unlike Snakepit or Velvet Revolver, this lineup has stuck.
That's a key point.
They've released 4 albums together: Apocalyptic Love, World on Fire, Livin' the Dream, and 4.
And 4 was a big deal for another reason, right? It was the first release on Gibson's own record label.
Yes, in 2022, Gibson, the guitar company, launched a record label, and naturally, their first signing was Slash.
Of course.
It solidified his status not just as an artist, but as the global ambassador for the electric guitar.
Okay, I have to push back on this workaholic label you used earlier. You called him the Employee of the Month of Rock.
I did.
But we're talking about a guy who famously died for 8 minutes from an overdose in the 90s. You can't tell me he was a disciplined worker when he was nodding out in hotel rooms.
That is a fair challenge. And I'm not saying he wasn't chaotic in his personal life during the addiction years, but look at the output. Even during the peak Snakepit days or the end of GN'R, who was the one showing up to rehearsals.
I assumed none of them were.
Axl certainly wasn't. But Slash notes that he would get high, yes, but then he would sit in his room and play. The guitar was the constant.
Right.
And fast forward to the modern era, post-2010. Look at his schedule. It is actually insane.
I'm looking at the tour dates here. He tours with Miles Kennedy for 18 months. The day that tour ends, he flies to meet Guns N' Roses.
He hates silence. He has this restless energy. He just channels it into the fretboard now instead of substances. He punches the clock. He is a blue-collar worker in a cop hat.
Which brings us to the impossible moment. The Not in This Lifetime tour.
2016.
Yeah.
For 2 decades, Axl and Slash didn't speak.
Right.
Axl had famously said a reunion would happen not in this lifetime, hence the tour name, but they patched it up.
After all that bad blood.
Slash says it was mostly third-party stuff that kept them apart. Managers, agents, lawyers whispering in ears.
Ah, the middlemen.
Once they actually got in a room, face to face, the animosity faded.
And, well, we have to talk about the economics.
The GDP of a small country.
The tour grossed $584 million.
Wow.
That is $500 million. It was the third highest grossing tour of all time at that point.
Noni is a great healer.
It is a fantastic lubricant for friendship. But, to their credit, the reviews were stellar. They sounded tight.
Yeah, they did.
And that brings us right up to the present. We're in early 2026 now? GN'R has been releasing new track, Perhaps, The General? Absurd.
And even just a couple of months ago, in late 2025, Slash was doing another supergroup thing, the Dirty Bats.
Yes, December 2025. Slash, Duff McKagan, producer Andrew Watt, and Chad Smith from Chili Peppers. They did a one-off show with Bruno Mars and Eddie Vedder.
Wild lineup.
Just shows that Slash is the ultimate connector. He can play with anyone.
I want to shift gears now, pun intended, to the equipment.
Let's do it. Because for the nerds listening, this is the holy grail. But I want to warn you, let's not just list model numbers. I want to understand how the gear makes the sound.
Deal. That's the important part.
Let's start with the guitar. Slash is the face of Gibson. But there's a twist to this story that I absolutely love. The guitar that recorded Appetite, it wasn't a Gibson.
This is the great irony. In 1986, Slash was frustrated. He couldn't get the sound he wanted. He had sold his guitars to buy drugs.
Right.
He was playing whatever he could find. The band's manager, Alan Niven, saw that they were about to record this massive album, and Slash didn't have a good instrument.
Okay.
So Niven went to a luthier guitar builder named Chris Derrig.
Chris Derrig wasn't a Gibson employee.
No, he was a guy building high-end replicas in the back of a music store. He built a copy of a 1959 Les Paul Standard. Slash picked it up and it just sang. He used that copy to record Appetite.
So the sound that saved Gibson, because let's be honest, Slash made Les Paul's cool again, was created on a fake.
A forgery. A really, really good forgery. But here's the technical secret.
Lay it on me.
Why did it sound so good? It comes down to the pickups.
Explain that to me like I'm 5.
Okay, pickups are the magnets on the guitar that catch the vibration of the strings and turn it into electricity.
Got it.
In the 80s, everyone was using ceramic pickups. They are high output, very harsh, very loud. They scream.
Perfect for hair metal.
Exactly. The Derrig guitar had Seymour Duncan Alnico II pickups. These use a different type of magnet. They are weaker.
Weaker is better.
In this case, yes. They are vintage style, they are softer, warmer, and they let the wood of the guitar resonate more.
So while everyone else was trying to be louder and harsher, Slash went softer and warmer.
Precisely. It sounds like a human voice. It sounds like a violin that's angry.
An angry violin. That is the perfect description of his tone.
It really is.
Now you plug that guitar into an amp, and this story is even better. This is the SIR heist.
Oh, this is legendary. So Slash rents a Marshall amp from a rental company called SIR for the recording sessions.
Okay.
But this wasn't a stock amp. It was SIR stock, #39.
What made #39 special?
It had been modified by a tech named Tim Caswell. Imagine a car engine. Most amps have one turbocharger. Caswell took the output of the first turbo and fed it into a second turbo before it hit the engine. It created this incredible saturated distortion that was still smooth.
It had extra gain stages.
Exactly. Slash plugged in, hit an A chord, and the sound of God came out.
Ah.
He loved it so much that he decided, I am never returning this.
He stole the rental amp?
He told the rental company it had been stolen. He kept it. He hid it.
You're kidding me.
But karma is real. A few months later, during rehearsals for a tour, a roadie, who didn't know the backstory, accidentally took that specific amp back to SIR for repair.
Oh, no.
The guys at the store recognized it immediately. Hey, this is a #39. They took it back.
So he lost it?
He lost the magic amp. He spent the next 10 years trying to recreate that sound, but he could never quite get it back.
That is tragic and hilarious.
It's the one that got away.
Now, we have talked about the music and the gear, but we have to talk about the man's survival. Because frankly, looking at the medical charts, he shouldn't be here.
No, statistically, he is an anomaly. The drug and alcohol abuse was extreme. We were talking about half a gallon of vodka a day plus heroin.
Good Lord.
In 2001, at age 35, he collapsed.
What was the diagnosis?
Cardiomyopathy. Basically congestive heart failure. His heart was so swollen and weak from the abuse that it couldn't pump blood effectively.
That is an old man's disease.
It is. The doctors gave him 6 days to 6 weeks to live.
6 days.
He had a defibrillator implanted in his chest, which he still has. He went through intense physical therapy, and remarkably, he survived. He got clean and sober in 2006. He credits his ex-wife Perla for helping him through that, but it was a massive wake-up call.
It's interesting because when you see him now, he looks healthy, he's fit, he's running around stadiums for 3 hours a night.
He replaced the chemical obsession with other obsessions. He became a dinosaur and reptile nerd.
A reptile king.
He was a board trustee of the LA Zoo. He had a massive collection of snakes in his house, pythons, boas.
Wow.
But, and this shows his growth, when his first son was born in 2002, he gave them all away.
Why?
He realized it wasn't safe to have giant constrictors around a baby.
That's a responsible parent move.
He prioritized fatherhood over his hobby. That is a mature decision that the 1987 Slash would not have made.
For sure. And his other ventures are just pure geek culture. I was reading about his production company.
Slasher films? He loves horror movies, so he started producing them.
Right.
He's obsessed with pinball, so he designs machines for Jersey Jack and Data East. He even wrote a theme song for Angry Birds.
He has an Angry Birds avatar.
He does. It's a bird with a top hat and a guitar.
That is delightful. It really paints a picture of someone who just loves what he loves unapologetically, whether it's blues riffs, horror movies, or mobile games.
And that's the key to his longevity. He isn't posing. He really is just a guy who loves to play.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, where does Slash stand in the pantheon? We know the Stats Hall of Fame, millions of albums, but what is the legacy?
I think his legacy is that he's the ultimate survivor and the ultimate bridge.
A bridge between what?
He bridged the gap between the British blues of the 60s and the American aggression of the 80s. He bridged black and white culture in his own DNA. He bridged the underground club scene and the massive stadium rock world.
And he bridged the gap between technical virtuoso and soulful player.
That's the most important one. Think about the guitar heroes of the 80s. Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai, incredible players. But can you hum their solos?
Not really. It's a lot of notes.
Exactly. But you can hum every note of the November Rain solo. Guitar World ranked it the number 6 greatest solo ever. Listen how he holds the notes. It's not about how fast he can play. It's about the emotion he wrings out of that Les Paul.
He makes the guitar sing.
He does. And the fact that he's doing it in 2026, selling out stadiums, clean, sober, and still wearing that top hat, that is a victory.
It absolutely is. So here is our challenge to you, the listener. Don't just listen to Sweet Child of Mine for the millionth time.
Please don't.
Go find the isolated guitar track for November Rain, put on headphones, close your eyes, and really listen to the nuance behind the distortion. You might just hear the soul of the man under the hat.
It's worth the time.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We will catch you on the next one.
Keep listening.